Hello, hello. Welcome back to another week with us on Foreign Takes. Who's here with me, boys?
KG's in the building celebrating the double win that United had and the frustration that Liverpool fans faced with the Arsenal result.
Who else is here?
Big Lev here. Happy that I'm not a United fan, destined for a lifetime of pain, thinking he's so great from his seventh spot.
Oh my god. All right. We're going to get into it, boys. Interesting week of Premier League, Bundesliga. I feel like we're now fully back, right? No more winter break, no more everything. Everything's got full speed. It's actually quite nice to have games coming every day.
All right, let's kick
Pretty
off
good,
with
yeah.
let's kick off with the Premier League. Let's see what the results are.
I think we should probably start off with what was probably the most surprising result and kind of disappointing for a lot of us was Newcastle 4, Luton 4. I say disappointing because Luton were up by 2 goals at some stage and Newcastle dead in the water. But were you guys expecting this result? Did this come out of the blue in many ways?
No, I don't think I didn't know if Luton scored 4 goals in their entire season,
They scored
much
eight
less
in
in
two
one game.
games.
Yeah.
8 in 2 games.
So revival, but is it gonna be enough?
They deserve to win this, right? In all honesty, this game, it's like they let Newcastle come back into the game by
Well,
conceding the
then,
third one.
if they did, they don't deserve to win it, right?
No, but their performance versus Brighton in midweek. Come
4-0.
on, 4-0 or even 5 maybe. I think there was one goal was disallowed. I don't know if they kept it up, but come on, they dismantled De Zerbi. What Big Love was saying about De Zerbi just started echo a little bit more out here. How can you get so demolished by Luton out of all the teams in the league? Like, it's an embarrassing result nobody talks about. And then they go to Newcastle and draw with them 4-4, an amazing game, and 4 points out of probably on paper would be zero before the start of the kick of the ball. So good job to Luton. I think they have now like a little bit of a buffer and 1 point over Everton, very close to getting Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest in there.
And their
I don't
next
know.
game is at home to Sheffield United. So the way they're playing, you'd expect them to pick up another 3 points. So that would
Yeah,
be quite a substantial number of points over 9 games for them coming into for
yeah.
the winter break.
Yeah, I think Crystal Palace is going to be also dropping there just because Roy Hodgson's probably already forgot
Can we talk
who
about
he
Crystal
is.
Palace for a bit? Because they lost at home, away to Brighton 4-1. I know Big Lev was saying this in the beginning of the year about like, oh, Roy, but it does really feel like it's the beginning of the end for Roy Hodgson at Crystal Palace.
In
Done for
retirement.
sure at the end of the
Yeah.
year. What do you mean beginning of the end?
No, I mean like
He,
you wanted
It's
a
the
happy
end.
ending, right? Like you wanted a happy ending, but instead it feels like they're turning on him. It feels like after all these years, something bitter is like
He
beginning.
had a happy ending. They made him come back. He had a happy
Yeah.
ending. He left them in a solid position, 14th in the league or 15th in the league when he retired, which is good for Crystal Palace. They brought in the second best midfielder of his Premier League era, Patrick Vieira, and he didn't do anything. Second best
Well, if he
because
wants a
Roy
happy
Keane's number
ending,
one.
he should go to Thailand. Lots of happy endings there.
I might be too old for that, my friend.
Yeah, I think he just wants like
I don't know if Robert Kraft can get it. Why not Roy Hodgson?
he just wants, I think, a cup of tea in front of a fireplace. My friend, I think he's older than that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Let's jump to I think what was the headline of the weekend, which was obviously the battle of number one versus number three. Arsenal at home to Liverpool. Final score was 3-1. Big Lev, you can agree, even as a Liverpool fan, that it was a deserved result, right? Like Arsenal definitely deserved to pick up the 3 points. Like the score line reflects accurate.
Yep, yeah, definitely cannot. Liverpool were terrible. At the end of the day, the goal they got was from out of nowhere with 0 shots on target in a half. They only played 10 minutes. They only played 10 minutes at the start of the second half and then they collapsed, even though the Arsenal's, the lead goal they got was out of nowhere as well. But it was frustrating to watch because they've been so consistently good, and the game they had against Chelsea, they were so in it and that they had such a high energy, and then here it was non-existent. And oh man, I could not tell you how angry I was at Trent Alexander-Arnold. The first time when Martinelli broke away and he didn't even bother to run back, that was when I just knew this was going to be one of those frustrating games, and he was just non-existent. All Arsenal had to do is ball over the top to Martinelli, and just Konate couldn't keep up with him. And I saw some ratings after the game where they say, "Oh, Konate 5 out of 10, terrible game." It wasn't Konate's fault, man. You know he's not as fast to keep up with really fast Martinelli when Trent Alexander-Arnold is camping out in Arsenal's half.
And also the fact that, I mean, lack of a proper DM in this type of game, it just creates holes because the first goal that Arsenal scored, it was, yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold contributed by not being there and forcing Kanate out to the white side of the field. But also Van Dijk had to drop so deep to cover that proper sixth position that it created a hole. So Kanate was behind him, and that was a perfect like pocket in which Kai Havertz ran into. Which he, thank God, it was Kai Havertz because he didn't score from the first half. Nobody talks about it. Everyone goes, "Oh, Kai Havertz had a great game." He didn't have a great game.
No, but
He
he
was
had
just
a good game, right? Like he did what he was supposed to do, which was pull Van Dijk and Konate out of the spaces. That's all he had to do was just drop, force them out of the space, and then make space for Saka and Martinelli to run into.
I think
yeah
it's
yeah
not only about number six. I think McAllister didn't have really bad game. He was pretty decent. I think who had the really bad game is Graverberg, who didn't do
yeah
anything, and McAllister had to compensate creatively for him as well, which Gakpo also had a poor game. So between those two and Jones not really being on top of his, like, he had Jones didn't have a terrible game, but he didn't have his usual energy. So between those three, I think McAllister had to compensate too much. And this was the game where we really missed Salah, obviously, and Zoboslai a little bit as well. Because Zoboslai could have driven a little more and offered some energy in that midfield. We got overrun in midfield.
yeah
I think KG, you and I were texting. That's exactly we saw it in the first 10 minutes, right? It was just complete the box midfield with obviously Havertz in the middle as filling the box was completely destroying Liverpool. Like they just were
yeah
completely non-existent in the midfield.
yeah yeah completely gone. There was nothing in the midfield, and they with that, like if Arsenal had a proper number nine, that game would have been buried. Like there wouldn't be even chance to be 1-1 at the half, just because it was Kai Havertz, like non-existent in terms of scoring on the first touch. It was down to Saka or Martinelli to score. Overall, I think the two goals I found comedically funny that in this game the two goals were just like the most like debauchery mistakes made by both Allison and Raya. What was that? What was that even about? I mean, not Raya, but more of a Gabriel. It
Yeah,
was
and
just a funny
Saliba.
game.
It just
Saliba.
it did feel fair, right? That it was one mistake each, because it would have been terrible for it to be won by a mistake like that. So it felt like it was resetting each other's mistakes. But
Yeah,
you're not going to see Van Dijk and Allison make that mistake again, right? It's just one of those things. You just scratch it up. It's a bad game. It's disaster. Like they're
yeah.
never. They could do this 100 more games and they're not going to make the same mistake again. It's just one of
Well,
those things you see.
Allison does that like 2-3 times a season usually, but then he makes up for it in other times.
Yeah.
Van Dijk, yeah, it's not often that he has like catastrophic mistakes.
So
Yeah, it's
here's a
true.
question for you: that the game is over. The question for you that I have both. I mean, for Big Love and Whitey. With that celebrations, were they over the top?
Yes.
There was a lot of conversations. I mean, I'll give it to you both to have that opinion, and then I'll give mine.
Uh,
I'll chime in later.
please, Big
It's
Lev, tell me.
it's over the top because you paint a target on yourself. It's because we're already talking about it. It means it's over the top. Okay, because you're giving other teams something to talk about in a locker room, something to put on bulletin board and say, hey, we're gonna go after them because of this. Look at what happened to Tottenham. See, like, if you go ahead now and win the league, no one's gonna remember this. But if you have a week or two where you kind of choke it away, this is gonna be. It's not gonna be because of this, but a lot of people will point to this.
Interesting. Here's my counter, and there's two bits to it. One is Klopp does this all the time: the ridiculous celebrations to the fans, the pumping. So I'm like, they give him shit too. To be very clear, a lot of them it's nowhere near as bad as the Arteta Arsenal. I mean, the having to listen to Carragher and Neville is just they're so sour. Like it's so clearly they're sour. So that's bad. The second thing is like we have to celebrate it, right? It's like, what are we gonna do? Not celebrate us winning? It's like, what's the point of football? Or do we just restrict our celebrations till the end of the season and then make a decision to celebrate? So this is one of those things. I'm like, fuck it, let's celebrate. Let us have it. hey, when Spurs win, when Liverpool go for it, it's like it's between us and like it's between the players, the fans, the team, the overall Arsenal. I don't understand what really. I think there is definitely an agenda out there by the media, by the English media specifically, against a lot of the international managers. Really, it's like Klopp, Ten Hag. You see the kind of hate that they get from the Sky media. I think that has a big part to do. It's like they've picked this thing to pick on. I swear I know that's a very conspiracy thing, but yeah. Going back to your question, KG, what do you think? Was it over the top,
What
KG?
I think obviously it can be contributed as to being over the top. I think Arteta's over the top and is very emotional, and he should get. They should if they give yellow cards for Ten Hag because he screamed at the referee once. They should be equal to it when Klopp does it and where Arteta does it. Or when another manager gets punished for it, it shouldn't be given like special treatment because it's Arteta or Klopp. That being said, they can celebrate whatever they want and they can then be judged for it later down the line if they need to have that conversation. It's just funny to me that it comes from Carragher and Liverpool fans who are the most pretentious people when it comes to celebrating, especially Klopp when he draws a game, he brings out the people and does it.
Oh
Good
yeah,
for
yeah,
him
yeah.
if you
Bring
celebrate.
this 8. That happened 8 years ago, man. Let it
No,
go.
No,
Jesus,
forget 8 years
Salt is
ago.
unreal.
Even this season, he's done it so many times. I'm like,
he's
I
But
enjoy it. I
there's a
enjoy watching
difference.
it.
There's a difference between you taking your team and going to the fans and clapping, and Odegaard taking out his fucking camera and just taking pictures like he just won the
why.
Champions League.
Why is it? Why is it? Klopp does the
No,
same
the photo.
celebration.
Well, hold on. The
Some
photographer is a homegrown. He's like an Arsenal fan, like Stuart McFarlane, I think his name is. Like he's known as like Arsenal super like fan. Also, he's shy. Yeah, if you watch any of the documentaries, so it was one of those things. I'm like, yo, he's trying to take a picture of him. The fans are celebrating behind it. It's a good memento. I don't know why
if
it's a negative
again,
thing.
my opinion, you can
I'm not saying
celebrate
it's a
all you
negative
want.
thing.
You can celebrate all you want. It's just it's funny to me that it comes from Liverpool fans who are over the top celebrating when everything happens, and they go to say this is Liverpool, this is this is that.
Uh,
But when Arsenal does it, it's for some and against them. That's the reason. It's sour because they lost and you were at the pity party. It's never beautiful when you lose and people over celebrate over the top. You feel like you're a smaller being in a celebration of life. That's happening
No,
over
not
there.
at all. The fact that they celebrate over the top, if anything, is homage to how great Liverpool are. That beating them is such a cause for
oh
celebration.
wait, I'll give you
I am
that because
saying,
I give you that.
of course, they can celebrate all they want. What I'm saying is just the fact that we're having this discussion leads me to say that, hey, why just put this target on yourselves?
This
It's
discussion started thanks
obviously
to Jamie
people.
Carragher. That's what the conversation started with Jamie Carragher, going that
No,
they
I think
celebrate over the
there's
top. It
multiple
was in
people
a
have
post-match
felt.
analysis. That's what he said, and
Bro,
that's
like
the
I didn't
narrative that
hear
went on.
Jamie Carragher's thing, but I did feel like, hey, these guys are really happy about this. I'm sure a lot of people felt that, hey, these guys are. It had the exact same feeling as when Spurs went all wild after beating us 9 men,
I mean,
and it's
to be clear, for Arsenal, I will say you guys have had our number for years, so it was satisfying because I am truly sick of watching Klopp's teams destroy us. So it was a nice
Yeah,
change of events. Wait, just to move on though, in other, I see the United Liverpool rivalry was coming up, but
Eh.
United had another solid win at home to West Ham. It was just the thing that made it memorable was that it was not memorable. It just felt like a routine win. Is that a
yeah.
fair thing to say,
That
KG?
is a very fair thing to say. Um, United were looking better even against the Wolverhampton game. I know they got shaky there, and they won because of a brilliance of a one young man who's going to be the next big thing. Mino, man, I rewatched that goal so many times. How did he nutmeg that guy and smoothly moved on to the right? It's just an amazing goal.
The stuff of
Yeah,
dreams, right? Imagine an 18-year-old, that's what you're dreaming of as a teenager, is to play for your team, to shoot, to dribble. I mean, it's like written in the stars what he did.
he looks like the next big thing. He looks like what Pogba should have been if he wasn't Pogba. Like that's what he looks like. Instead of if Pogba wasn't a snake who was going all for the money, that's what he looks like. But yeah, the second game was they were more composed and the key players played for a longer time. In the other game, they had to take off Casemiro, they had to take off Lisandro Martinez, they had to give more time to them to adjust, and that's where the shift happened. Obviously, I'm gonna call out the dodgy penalty. That I don't know how that penalty stood. That should not have been a penalty. It should have been overturned in the VAR. I don't know how VAR came to the conclusion that, oh, that's a penalty. After reviewing it, he didn't throw himself to the ground. It was a foul. Again, great job, referees. I hope. I don't know. I don't know what to say to you. But yeah, in the second game, Lisandro Martinez played a bigger role, as did Casemiro, as did Hoyund, as did Garnacho, as did Rashford. And West Ham just weren't there, but United punished them and they rightfully scored the
West Ham,
amount
though,
of goals.
you have to say, as good as United played, West Ham did not give you a challenge. I think that has to be said, right? It's like that. That's
I
not
mean,
the West Ham, the good West Ham. That's the bad
West
West
Ham
Ham that
also
showed up.
they didn't have Paqueta, they didn't have Kudus. I mean, they had Kudus, I think, or
Yeah, but
he
he
wasn't back
looked
yet.
exhausted.
He
Honestly
looked
speaking,
exhausted from the AFCON. They didn't have like a bunch of players, and again, it's understandable. In any other day, like if there was another this dodgy penalty like against Wolves, West Ham would have been back in it, and United didn't let that happen. So it was a great job from Ten Hag and United to position themselves that way. It's just sad that Lisandro Martinez is out for 8 weeks. But on the positive side is that Hoyun scores, he continues to score. And as a noted fact, the major problem for United this season was that they didn't score enough goals. I think they scored 23 goals in the Premier League, and they've scored what now?
7.
10 in their last three. So
Yeah,
four against Newport, four against Wolverhampton, three here. That's 11, and then two against Tottenham. So that's like the season amount of goals in 4 games. So they're
good
if
signs.
if they continue doing the same thing, and hopefully Lisandro is not going to be missed as much, United can mount the challenge to a top four probably.
Honestly, fantastic week. Speaking of top four, let's just quickly touch on Man City won away at home to Brentford. Kevin De Bruyne turned it on, then he got bored and he turned it off. That's a pretty good summary of today, right?
Yeah, Phil Foden hat trick. You might as well can say that. It wasn't only De Bruyne, but yeah, I
It
mean,
just feels
City's.
boring, right? Like I'm like, there's 115 charges. I know we have to say this, but it's like 115 charges hanging over them. It just
I don't see any charges hanging over them. They're just buying their own players from Girona. But in the time when the
Yeah.
window's closed, they just
can
going like,
we all
okay,
agree it is beyond unreasonable that they just signed. I mean, Savio's having the season of his life, obviously, with Girona, top of the league, La Liga, so on. This it smells fishy, right? Can we all agree this is fishy
it
beyond
is
It
belief?
smells
fish.
fishy everywhere. You wouldn't be able to do that, I don't know, in the regular, corrupt corporate America. Okay? It's the same owners just taking one player from one club, putting it in another.
Yeah, and
Um,
then paying each other. No, the biggest concern, like on any, if you're gonna say that okay, you can own two clubs, at least I would say the guidelines for doing a transfer between two clubs needs to be a fair transaction and fair purpose. I'm 100% sure that some clubs were interested in it, and the window closed, and they do it immediately after the window, so they don't have to even be like, oh, even if they say they have what's it called, a release clause in his contract. I'm pretty sure another team could have matched that release clause, and then it would be up to the player. But when you're doing it off season, they triggered his release clause. He's gonna go to City, even if it's not a release clause. How can you negotiate without anyone present in there when the two parties are related outside of the allotted time where you can do transfers? It is so fishy. It is as fishy as it gets. They waited for the window to close. Literally 6 days after it closed, they're going like, "Go, we're buying that player now."
It's just
It's,
ridiculous, honestly.
yeah,
It makes you lose interest when you're like, this is just unfair for everybody else. On quickly to touch on one more game was Chelsea 2, Wolves 4. And the reason I bring this up is because Wolves are played pretty good against United. I know they lost, but they lost a magic goal. But as they made Chelsea look like a mid-table team, and I know they're both mid-table, but it was just embarrassing for Chelsea at home, getting booed by their fans. And then you look at Wolves on the other hand; they had energy, they had like the wingers, amazing, Matheus Cunha, amazing. It just felt like two teams going in two different directions, except one team is just spent 1 billion and the other team is under FFP restrictions. Right?
I
It
have
feels like two different directions.
I have a question for you, Whitey. Do you want to go play one on one with Mudrik for 10K or no? Or not?
That has to be fake, right? That could not have been real.
I don't know. I've seen it. I think it's real. I've seen it reposted a couple times. If it's fake, it's hilarious. If it's not fake, my God, what problems do Chelsea have?
For the listeners who haven't seen this, please go on Reddit or whatever. But essentially, it's a guy who texted Mudrik on Instagram, and Mudrik's response is, "Play me one on one, bro, for 10K." That's all he said.
And then he replied, "Oh, how about you keep your 10K but play better?" I think it was like, "Do you play football?"
The thing is, honestly speaking, like Pochettino doesn't look like he's put a structure around the Chelsea team. They just don't. They still look like they don't know each other. That's the thing that's like really worrying. If you're like a Chelsea fan, is he has had so many months. They play one game a week, and yet there doesn't seem to be an actual structure around what they're trying to do.
They're in the final of the EFL Cup. What do you
Spare
mean?
me with that. They're gonna get destroyed by Liverpool. Is gonna walk to that game to sleep. Like honestly speaking, it's a freebie for Liverpool.
But they can't even. I read somewhere that they can't even fire Pochettino because if they fire him, they have to pay him 10 million. That's gonna break their FFP rules. So
Ah,
like they're gonna be stuck with him probably till the summer. They're gonna
Probably
keep him
more than
around.
10 mil.
yeah,
Probably
with his
more than 10
staff and
million.
Probably,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it's
Probably
shocking.
10 mil for every remaining season
And
on his contract.
And I saw another stat for Chelsea's that they basically him and Graham Potter have the same amount of like points in the same number of games right now and they did as they did last year. So there's literally no movement forward. Although they cut a bunch of people out and they did all of this, and Thiago Silva's done. His wife apparently tweeted said that it's time to move on. So Chelsea is a hot mess, and there's nobody's gonna fix it. The best way to fix it is get rid of the owners. That's the best
Yeah,
way to
that
fix it.
really is.
You
Wait,
know,
the
I,
one.
I'm surprised that Chelsea's perilous. You know, I'm surprised that doing the exact same thing they did last year did not yield a different result. I don't know. Like
Wait,
you'd think just repeating the same thing over and over again would, at some point, change stuff, right?
yeah,
No.
nope. Well, I think Big Lab, just on that note, I feel like we both escaped a bullet with both Felipe, the Casado, and Lavia. Like the fact that what Liverpool and Arsenal respectively were like trying. Seeing them now, one is injured constantly, the other one looks terrible. Like, they looks like a shell of himself. Honestly, we
But
escaped
you did escape it because I mean, let's be
for that
honest. Like,
price.
which sane human being, sane footballer who doesn't care only about money? Because let's face it, once you play in the Premier League and you have Liverpool and Chelsea after you, you're gonna be making a lot of money. Okay, you're gonna be making money that would be enough for you for the rest of your life. Regardless of what you think, even if you get 150k a week, it's 150k a week. A week. There's 52 weeks. That's 50 times you're going to pay that. And if you give away half of that to the government, that's 75k a week. A week. I'm repeat like that's money that people cannot comprehend. And if a player just goes like, "Oh, I want to play for Chelsea because they pay me more money," he clearly doesn't want to. He's not a good professional because
He's
he's not
not.
making a
Yeah.
professional decision. You're making a
Yeah.
decision based on money.
Yes, because every
So
player who chose Chelsea instead of Liverpool, Arsenal specifically, because they're the ones we're talking,
yeah.
like it's 100% a money thing. It's not like
Yeah.
Liverpool, Arsenal couldn't have paid you a shocking amount of money.
It's not like he chose
Yeah.
between Real Madrid and Liverpool or United and Liverpool. You had to choose and be like, oh, I was a kid growing up watching United. It's not that decision. Or it's like I chose Liverpool over Arsenal because I grew up watching Michael Owen. It's a
No,
decision
it's
of, oh,
shocking.
Chelsea pays me a lot of money and Liverpool, who cares? I'll sit here
I
for
don't
10
think
years.
it's quite that sinister. Part of it was that Chelsea was talking to him since like March, and Liverpool just came in last second. So it's like, you know, if you're talking to two of the very similar companies, one is doing better, but the other still has promise and gives you a lot of money. If you already signed an offer, it's kind of a lot of mental energy to be like, okay, I'll go to that other one. So I do think Caicedo would have been much better at Liverpool, but obviously 110 million is insane amount of money.
Yeah, that's
So
the part that is ridiculous. Is the
and
fees that they paid.
I just hope that the fee we saved is not gonna be used for a Salah replacement because we definitely need someone there.
Yeah,
But
wait. On
Lavia,
a
Lavia, I was telling you guys that I did not rate him, and thank God he did not come. And thank
I
God
mean,
they haggled over that 5 million.
he was more of a promising youngster. I'm pretty sure he would have done better under Klopp.
He would still be
You,
injured
you
for a
wouldn't know
year.
at
So.
different circumstances. You wouldn't know how he would have played. You don't know what the
No,
physio room is at Chelsea. You don't know what at Liverpool versus
I mean,
Chelsea.
bro,
it was
he
still the
has
right decision.
he's been injured since the Southampton days. He played like 50 minutes, so I don't think
Yeah,
there's some magic physios in Liverpool that could have compensated for that.
bullet
Overall,
dodge.
he's just bullet dodged, and I mean, Caicedo definitely chose Chelsea because of the money.
Yeah,
It's not because
absolutely.
it's like he was like, oh, I want to live in London. It's not like, oh, I want to play for Chelsea. I want to live in London. So it's
Yeah,
a different perspective
I
to
agree.
life.
To wrap up on Premier League, I wanted, instead of doing a full season review, I wanted to ask you guys. So, two teams, like So the overperformers, like based on the beginning of the year, like and what we were predicting in the summer, the team that has overperformed and the team that has underperformed. Now that we're past the winter break and stuff, so two teams. I have my takes, in my opinion, of like who I think has overperformed and who has definitely underperformed. But I'm curious. So here's my take.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
see. So I think the team that has underperformed is Chelsea, and I know that's like easy. And the reason I say that is because I think they're in 11th place now. It's just for the amount of money that they've spent. And we've said this before. I think they've gotten uh, the lightest amount of criticism. So I think they are completely like no other team could spend a billion in 14 months, 15 months and escape. So I think they are the underperformers. And then
I'll
I
tell you
think
what, Sky Sports paid them a lot of money.
that,
I mean,
yeah,
they pay Sky Sports a lot of money. Sorry,
I
so
agree.
nobody mentions them ever again.
Which is ridiculous. I think they're the underperformers, and then I
Yeah,
think the overperformers. This is again. I actually do think Aston Villa are overperforming
yeah.
because I know they had a very good end to the last year, calendar year, yada yada. I don't think a single person could predictably say, "Hey, Aston Villa is." They're in the race, right? Not only top four, but they're only a couple points behind. They are in the challenging. So I think they are the overperformers and then Chelsea are the underperformers. And I'm curious if you guys have a different group or if you guys agree with that.
Yeah, I think the team that overperformed is Bournemouth. Tom Solanke out there, man, looking like prime Torres. They've been. I mean, we all had them after the first month and a half getting relegated, and look at them flying. In terms of
Yeah,
the
they're I think six
underperformed,
points above right now. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, but still, like they had some very impressive wins, and they look good. In terms of underperforming, Chelsea, yeah, but I did expect them to be in shambles. So I won't say, yeah, they underperformed, but not by a lot. I think United underperformed.
I agree with Big Love. I think United definitely underperformed just by sheer amount of positions dropped. They were third and now they're sixth. I mean, they can finish higher, but realistically, probably fourth. So that's still like even if they finish like that's the maximum that they can go to. And if they finish fourth, it's still like a drop off. But for now, yeah, I definitely underperformed more. I agree with Big Love. We had Chelsea finishing eighth,
Yeah.
ninth.
Yeah.
Like
United came in with a lot more stability.
Yeah.
Same
yeah.
coach, kind of maybe not a great summer window, but still
Yeah,
a
they had just a lot
couple
of
of good
injuries, which
wins.
nobody
Yeah.
can expect. They
Yeah.
like this past 2 days, the 2 game weeks, United had their best starting 11 since August. So like half a year without your best possible starting 11. And I would say for overperforming, I'll put Luton in the overperforming position because both me and YT and Big Left were saying that Luton's gonna get lower points
That.
than Derby County.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
and they're already like 17th and they're like 18th and they're better off. I would also put Tottenham, if I'm a little bit honest,
Overperforming.
overperforming because
Yeah, I
I
would
mean we
agree with
know
that.
and Harry Kane is gone. They're not going to be anywhere near top six. Would put them probably eighth, and be like you're going to be happy with because they finished eighth last season or seventh. So like, oh, you're going to be there. They're fifth. They're aiming to the top four spot. They can potentially get there. As of right now, I would put Luton, Tottenham as overperforming and
Yeah, that's a
United
good call.
underperforming.
Especially Spurs. After we saw their suicidal high line, I thought it would crash, but it's
Yeah.
still going. Honest. And United is a good call because they're 8 points off fourth place, which is actually a shocking amount of points when you really think about it. But they're beginning to click. Let's move on quickly. Bundesliga. Nothing's changed. Leverkusen is still going, and
Yeah.
Bayern dodgily. I think that's like we say this week after week, right? Leverkusen win because they're a better team. Bayern win because they have better individual players. Like nothing
Yes.
changes really.
Same pattern of play, same thing over and over again. Leverkusen just wins because they're just an amazing team. Zero losses, and Bayern concede first, then scramble. Harry Kane scores his like a working horse. Harry Kane scores his 56th goal of the year, and they just continue to go into the
But the
sunset.
thing is, it just feels like it's only going to take one or two shaky weeks once the Champions League, especially, is back and they have to play 2 games back to back. That it's going to fall apart for Bayern, right? It just feels like it's that close. It just feels like a house on unstable foundations.
I mean, yeah, Tuchel's probably going to be gone at the end of it. If they
Yeah,
definitely don't win, he's definitely gone, and it doesn't seem like as of right now that they're going to win.
yeah, that's true. I think moving on to Serie A, there were two very interesting games over the last week. So Milan barely won away to Frosinone 2-3. Another
I would
Giroud.
s- I would say it differently. They came back from 2-1. Not barely won. They came back. It's give
Yeah,
my
but
boy.
it was wobbly, right? It's like it wasn't the Milan we were expecting or they're on fire. It's like amazing, obviously, amazing goal by Giroud once again. I'm gonna always praise
Come
him.
on, come on, come on, Giroud. Whitey's
This
Giroud corner.
this
Come
man
on.
Listen,
play for Giroud.
I happily let me, but you have to admit, KG, he just looks
I
fantastic. Right?
I
He's
honestly watched the whole game, and I'm gonna say I'm a bit swayed to it. I can see the brilliance of him. He is that type of a forward that like he's a dying breed. There's not gonna be that type of a forward probably. Like he's not. That's not a. There's not gonna be that type of a forward. It's just it's not relevant anymore. They're playing a very like he can do both. He can head the ball down and keep the ball on his chest and pass it back, and he can get the ball, pass it back with his feet, and make space for himself. And yeah, he scored and created the second because he knocked it down with his head for.
But that's the thing. I think people always like think he's just a big lumpy target man. I'm like, no, he brings all the rest of the players into the game with him. Like the reason Rafa Leao, if you see Rafa Leao, who of course is amazing, play with any other striker, he never performs as well because Giroud has this. And Giroud does the same thing with the national team, right? There's a
Yeah,
reason he makes space for Mbappe and Dembele and so on. But good
Is
but
win.
is Rafa Leao amazing? He has a
I think
very poor
so.
season. He has a terrible season, man. He scored like
yeah,
3 goals.
I watched
I,
it and I was thinking about it too when I was watching the Milan game. He's not having a good season. He's having an okay season. He is very similar to Khvicha in
Clara,
that way.
yeah.
Yeah, he's very similar to that. They're good. Like you can see that there's potential there. It's just they're not in form or the team is not performing well, so he doesn't get to be at that top level that he can be in. Rafael Leal does great movements and does everything, but he's not like last season. Last season he would be the solution to the problem. This season it was Giroud who's dragging them forward. It's not Rafael Leao.
Yeah,
But yeah,
The thing it reminds
that
me of is
that's
like
that that's why I brought him up because last time we mentioned Quara, people were like, "Oh, he fell off. He's nowhere near." He has
there were
six
Tottenham
goals.
fans saying that they don't want him in Tottenham because
Oh
he's
yeah. Oh no. He has 6 goals this season in Serie A. Okay, and he's basically playing alone. If you watch
yeah.
the game against who they were playing, Verona, man, he gave Simeone the ball 1-on-1 with the keeper. He couldn't even control it.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, if Rafa Leao is a great player, so is Quara. They're just not having the greatest of seasons.
I think a
Yeah.
big
So
part of it is also gives me shades of Bukayo Saka. It's like this season they're clearly saying they're going to be two defenders on all of them, right? It's like whether Leao, it's like they
hmm
have a minimum every time they're never one on one. The moment they're one on one, you see one of the defensive midfielders come sprinting full speed to help. So which means you expect the team to make up for that space elsewhere, and they haven't managed to do that. That's the
And
thing.
yeah.
also, like you usually would have with a team somewhere how to solve that problem. For example, in the West Ham game. The past two games, Rashford was not as bad visibly. Like if you look at it, it's not he's not as bad. He scored a goal, but against Wolverhampton, but against West Ham, he was quiet. He didn't do much. But the reason why he's a little bit better is because he has Shaw. And when you have Shaw, because he sucks at 1-on-1 this season, but when you have Shaw doing that run back, people get confused.
Makes you
He's not no longer
space.
with two. He creates his space. So that's what Milan and Napoli has been lacking. Rafael Kvara are alone. And from a tactical point of view, what I wanted to shout out for the Milan game, Pioli did a very smart tactical move once they were 2-1 down, and this win is very much so a Pioli win rather than Milan came back amazingly. He put in Jovic, and they shifted the way they attack. They went to a 4-4-2, 4-4-2 attacking and 5-3-2 defending. So he oversaturated the midfield. They took away the ball. They immediately became two wingers, crossing the ball for Giroud to head the ball down and Jovic to be in there from Giroud, whatever falls down from Giroud to score. It literally worked, and as soon as it worked, he took off Giroud, he brought in Wea, and they went back to being with one striker. So
Yeah.
this win is very much so a Pioli win. Very good to see that Pioli still has some say. It's good to see those type of wins where a manager makes just overcompensates and wins over the other manager tactically rather than just the team being class.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the other manager we obviously have been giving credit to is Inzaghi at Inter. That's the last
Yeah.
game. The Inter won, Juventus 0. Completely deserved. Of course, there was a moment. For anyone who hasn't seen the Hakan pass,
Yeah.
is one of those magical things that no
Oh, what a
amount of
pass.
practice. It's just one of those things you either have it or you don't. Right? His ability to
Yeah.
hit a ball is unreal. Of course, it wasn't finished because a terrible cross by Marco, Demarco, sorry, and then of course, what's his name,
Thuram.
Turam missed it.
Yeah.
But Inter just look amazing, right? Like they
Yeah.
are fantastic. In all honesty,
Inter won on class. They were just such a much miles better team, defending, attacking. The way they're set up, Inter are just so good. And that pass to from Çalhanoğlu, it was such a like you don't like. It just that's what a professional does. Like really a professional. It was such a narrow space in between three defenders, straight, correct weight, correct speed, just in front of DeMarco. He did a great cross at it, which I think the defender just, I think it was Gatti who cleared the ball on the turn. And that's the moment I remember the most out of that game. And everything else was just Inter scored, and then it was the typical Italian defensive football, who's going to win, who's going to knock down the other player first. And they finished 1-0.
but
Inter is a
what?
clear example of what a well-run front office. I guess it's more of a NFL term, but well-run football operations does to a team. So they have what Çalhanoğlu they got for free from Milan. Mkhitaryan was run out of Arsenal. They got Zeko to replace that bumbling idiot, and
Barella, the last one, yeah.
Lautaro was kind of at some point he was about to leave, and they just built a great team.
Thuram free. It's honestly
Thuram free.
Pavard looks fantastic on the right
Pavard also,
suddenly.
I was thinking that
Pavard
Pavard is an amazing
was a
player.
shocker for me that like they got him on for such a price. I was screaming for Liverpool to get Pavard because Bayern just like kind of let him go for a very cheap price for what's a really good player.
Pavard is such a versatile player. Whenever they need to play against Juventus, which is you have two big, strong strikers. Which also in Juventus they have a really great start in the Turkish star, or I don't know which his country of origin is, but his country of origin is Turkey. Kenan Yıldız. He's also a very big upcoming star. He's going to be great. But when you have those two bigs like in Vlahovic and Yıldız up front, you need more of a solid back three pairing and a wing back. And he plays with Pavard, and he can put Dumfries on the bench, and he can play Darmian and Pavard, and it's going to be versatile and moving in all places. So it's just perfect recruiting. Perfect recruiting.
Perfect. And
As
also
Big Lef said.
he uses them all perfectly. Like
Yeah.
he rotates. It's just honestly so well done, Inzaghi. He really deserves to win it this year.
Let's go move into the Champions League predictions with that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. So okay. Can we get out the obvious favorite, which is Man City? I think we can all agree that Man City is likely.
No.
Okay,
I
so
don't think
let me. You're right. So
you're gonna make me cry, bro. You're gonna make me cry.
Okay, here is my favorite. My honestly, and I'm not like messing around. My actual favorite is Inter Milan. I think they learned from last year's final that they only
got rid of
strengthened.
Lukaku. They were like, okay, we almost had it, but Lukaku was in the way. So what if we get rid of him and just run it back?
Honestly, that's pretty accurate. That's really what it is.
They also upgraded on. They're like, okay, he can bring a dodgy mistake. So how about we don't do it for the third time? We just do it from the second time. We'll get rid of the other possible fuck up.
But who else is? I mean, obviously Man City is there, but like, who else would you guys include?
Real Madrid. Real Madrid always
Real,
never exclude. It's
even
their league. Don't exclude them. If the Inter Milan and Real Madrid do not like get into each other's path, it's gonna be a final. Like I believe sincerely that the Real Madrid with Jude Bellingham, they're only lacking a striker.
But Joselu's doing a pretty good job. I have to give him credit. I know he's listen. Yeah, he's not.
They create for him, yes, but he misses a lot of sitters too.
Fair enough. But who else is there? That's it, right? It's really Madrid, Inter, and Man City have to be the favorites. In all honesty,
yes, they have to be.
It's not one of those seasons where like you'll have someone and you're thinking, who's gonna stop them. For example, remember like Barcelona and Bayern in between 2012 and 2017, they're like, who's gonna stop them? I just don't see them losing. And then they somehow would lose.
Yeah,
this
that's
year,
true.
I don't see anyone that's gonna be like, I don't see them losing. I see all of them losing because why not Arsenal or why not Bayern? Because they're strong, but you see cracks in there, and I see cracks in every team.
I agree.
Yeah.
On to end this pod on a funny note. Speaking of Madrid, where now the rumor mill has started already of Mbappe to Madrid. I'm already sick of it, and I feel like almost every single person. This is going to be what, the fourth year in a row, third year in a row. Is it going to finally happen this year? Do you guys think the summer is it finally going to happen?
It looks so. It looks so. I mean, like, if he could have signed with PSG, he would have last year. Why
Yeah.
would they leave it up to chance? Unless they offer him what? A yacht that has $10 million on it every year. It's just gonna be
He
what's it
has
called?
enough money,
Semi
right?
yearly salary.
Money
Yeah.
is absolutely not the problem now, right? It's like he has enough money for his great, 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 great grandkids at this stage, right? It's just a question of does he want to leave or not.
He
Yeah,
definitely
I
wants
don't understand. I think the only thing he really wants at this point is just attention. Because he could have, PSG would probably have sold him last year to get something for him, and then he could have said in January, "Hey, I'm leaving," and in January you can already sign. So why are we having this discussion in February? Because he
because
just
It's
it's
wants to.
Mbappe.
because it's Mbappe. Yeah.
This is gonna keep going till like June, and
I
maybe
know
then he'll
that's the
sign,
worst
or
part.
maybe he'll resign. I don't really care at this point. I
Me
don't want
too.
him to go to Real because it's just like it's gonna be another one of those Real teams that like, oh, how they're gonna lose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
this is gonna be a Real Madrid team that's gonna be winning
Uh,
at least one Champions League if they don't win it
Yeah.
this year.
I
It's
know. I keep saying this. I'm like Mbappe. If you really want to cement your legacy, there's only one team you need to go to, and it's Arsenal. That's all you need to do.
Uh,
Oh yeah,
Just
don't
follow the great.
get
imagine
out
he
here.
comes to
Get out
Arsenal.
here with that Tottenham take.
Yeah,
No, if he goes to Tottenham and wins a trophy, then he cements his
No,
legacy.
listen. The team just needs a striker. It's an upgrade on Jesus, and that way he'll be remembered forever. That Mbappe left
by
World
who?
Cup winner.
No, he won't. No, he
You don't
won't.
think he'll be remembered
He,
forever if he comes to Arsenal and wins the
he's
Champions
never
League?
gonna be bigger than Henry. So why, like, for Arsenal?
If
Go
you
to
think, okay, hold
Bro,
on.
go to Tottenham, win a Champions League. They're gonna
They're
build
never
you a
going to win that.
statue.
They're not even
No,
in the
no, no.
Champions League. I'm saying,
Well,
genuine question. If you think, okay, this is a foreign take. No, okay, this is for you too, KG, because I want your take. If for some reason Mbappe comes to Arsenal this summer and then he wins the Champions League with Arsenal like the upcoming year, you don't think he'll be remembered forever? Forever.
by Arsenal
By
fans.
all football fans.
By
no,
Arsenal fans.
That
no,
the
By,
guy went not to Real Madrid, he came to
no,
Arsenal and ended up winning. You guys are
by,
crazy.
by
no.
Arsenal fans. By Arsenal fans. If he goes to Real Madrid and wins another 3 Champions League straight in a row, he's going to be remembered by everyone because Real Madrid's tally went to 17.
I
He's going
disagree.
to be
I
remembered.
disagree. I think he'll be remembered more for coming to Arsenal and winning one Champions League than
By
going to Real
you,
Madrid
because
and
you're
winning
an
three.
Arsenal fan.
No,
Nobody
he's
else
gonna be
cares.
remembered more if he wins it for PSG, who've been trying to win it for like 10 years now.
No,
Yeah.
forget
Put
that. That's
everyone
boring.
possible. Messi, Neymar couldn't get it done, and now it's just him left. If he gets it done, then he's gonna remember it.
We're gonna ask the fans, and I'm telling you, they're gonna agree with me.
What do you think
Yeah.
about the PSG chances of the Champions League this year?
Non-existent.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Whitey, I'm
again, of
sorry.
course, he's not gonna come to ours, but you're gonna see. We're gonna ask the fans, and they'll tell you. Anyway, I think that's a good spot to wrap up. We'll see you next week.
This is the very rare glimpse into Whitey's world and his delusions. He's
Oh,
truly
Yeah,
showing
yeah,
his
He, he,
Arsenalness.
he,
On that note,
he dropped some nonsense take, and now he's trying to like get away. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Peace. On
He's
that
trying to
note,
go have
let's
some.
wrap up.
He's
bye,
trying to go
fans.
have
Bye,
some dinner.
fans.
Man is
Bye,
he-
fans.